Hello and welcome. Here we are. Finally, it is the Monaco Grand Prix in Ultimate Virtual. This is season 6. It's the 5th running of the Monaco Grand Prix, which has been a race that has provided us with lots of entertainment over the seasons, no doubt about it. The question that will be on many lips is who's going to take victory here? This is probably the most prestigious race of the season. It's not too much of a stretch, I don't think, to say that. Um, every race worth the same number of points, but everyone wants to win Monaco. It's very little doubt there. We'll take a look at the upgrades. So we had double turbo for Fox, a speed upgrade for Thunder X, speed upgrade for FVR, and a speed upgrade for Porsche. Two of those teams needed one quite a lot, and Thunder X didn't really. They are now the best car in every stat, bar turbo. But moving onwards, we also had a grip upgrade for Velocity, speed upgrade for BFX, grip for Fuerza, and speed for Pappy Pops, who desperately need that speed upgrade. They are still the team with the lowest speed level, even with that upgrade, down at 1. So, no bueno. But let's see how these teams do here. They've got good cars, a lot of them. Thunder X, the clear favourite. FVR, actually second place in the rankings. BFX in third is really interesting. We'll take out the upgrades just for now. BFX in third with 3.7. Both of them obviously over an index point off Thunder X. So Thunder X has the equivalent of 1 in every single stat over the next best car. But then it's a really tight grouping between FVR, BFX, Fox not far behind, Velocity not far behind, Porsche not far behind, and then at the back you've got Fuerza and Pappy Pops pretty close, and Superfast Racing on paper one of the worst cars, but they seem to be having quite a good start to the season, which is interesting. We're coming to the end of this qualifying session, and we now have a look at the fastest laps. It is Kubo, right as he crossed the line there, who set the fastest lap by 1/100th of a second over 3 cars tied in the top 4. That is remarkable. I don't think this will be the final lap. Unless Grandi and Kubo drive quite slowly, we should get this plus 1 more. And indeed, we will. I think. Indeed, Kubo hits the line 4 seconds ago. What an improvement that was! Suicide, though, is up into second place. And he's gone another quarter second faster than Grandi and Picker on that lap as well. Shiloh, don't discount her. Also in this fight, in the Furia Roja, will follow the cars as they come across the line. That is particularly surprising. But you've got the two teams, the lesser established UV teams of Furia Roja and Pappy Pops, right up there. Kubo cannot improve. Anyone further down the order? Yes, Pit Crew ties that fastest lap time. Shiloh can't improve. And it looks like that might be just about it for this qualifying session. We'll bring you the grid right now. Kubo, just as he did when he won here in his debut season in Season 2, takes pole position for the Monaco Grand Prix. Suicide will start from second place in the Pappy Pops car. That might just be their best ever race start. You'd have to go back through Season 4 to find one better than that. Suicide scored on one of his 2-point scoring occasions here in Season 4. He's never stood on the podium in Ultimate Virtual. Pit Crew and Grandi lock out the second row. Great laps from both of them. Pit Crew beats his teammate by 1/100th of a second. Shiloh 2/100ths behind them. Starting ahead of Fox, our reigning Constructors Champion, on row 6. His teammate back there on in 6th place. His teammate back there in 8th place. Anti splits them in the quote-unquote slowest car on the field. Vaporeon and Eurus complete the top 10. Kato will start right behind his teammate. He was tied, indeed, with Eurus just as they did on points last season. Vladinator starts from 12th position ahead of Goose and Corvid. Rito, then Todsod, Bluebell and Andres make it a BFX row 9. Hemenica starts ahead of Pappy on the last row, almost the entire grid in one big Pappy Pops sandwich. Here are the token spends for today. Abba spends 1 token. He starts down in 8th position behind his tokenless teammate. Kubo spends 3 tokens. He'll start from pole position. Grandy spends 2. He starts on row 2 behind his tokenless teammate. Vaporeon spends 2. He starts only in 9th place, looking to get through from there. Porsche did get that speed upgrade, finally. Kado will start down in 11th place behind his tokenless teammate. That seems to be somewhat of a trend here today. And Suicide, spending 4 tokens, starts from 2nd position. Here is the current Drivers' Championship. Grandy, our championship leader, just as he was for every single round, bar the last one, last season. 4th place with fastest lap, and a 1st place so far means that he is our championship leader by 13 points, ahead of Antti, who won the opening race in Adelaide. Shiloh came runners up in Jeddah, as well as the points haul in Adelaide. And then further back, Abva, very much continuing in the style that he did last season of consistent midpoint scoring finishes from race to race, finds himself in 5th in the championship. Goose and Urist are other podium sitters so far this season. Kado there in 4th too. And finally, the Constructors' Championship. ThunderX lead by 15 points currently over Team Velocity, who themselves are just 4 points ahead of Flyview Racing, 2 points ahead of the tied SFR and Furia Roja. Both those names need to be updated. I do apologise. Then Fox, Neon Sunset, Porsche are the 3 other teams that have scored points so far this season. BBB, Force X, and Pappy Pops both yet to score points. Pappy Pops surely on to do so today, with Suicide spending 4 tokens. It should be a very entertaining race. It is the Monaco Grand Prix up next. Here we go then. 60 laps on this famous old circuit to come, and we're underway here in Monaco. Kubo starts on the hards immediately. It's a bit of a crunch going through turn 1. The Thunder X's looking to make up some positions. Pit crew up the inside of Kubo. The tokenless pit crew takes the lead of the race here on lap 1. Grandy up into 2nd place already. It's a great start from the Thunder X's into the Nouvelle Chicane. Kubo does grab that position back on the exit of the tunnel. Shiloh on the hards, round the outside at Raskas she goes. Can't quite make an inroad on Grandy there. Can she get better traction up the main straight to the inside at Santa Fort? Going up the hill through Massenet and Beau Rivage. Can't get the move done just yet. Cado's immediately up 6 positions. Anti-hill up. Suicide on the hards in what is not a very fast Pappy Pops car has slowed quite considerably. That is an issue. Down to 7th place already, Eurus, then it's Abva and Fox. Bluebell is up quite a few positions. He did very well in a previous race, making up about 8 positions from his starting grid slot. Then it is Fox and Rito just behind as well. It's a chaotic start here in Monaco. Vaporeon right bogged down the order, 11th place still for the Welshman. Corvid and Vladinator, Goose, Todsod, Andrews, Pappy and Hetmenica still at the back, but it is 1-2 currently for the Thunder X drivers. They will be absolutely delighted with their start to the race so far. Then it's Kado up into 3rd place already. We've not seen much of his progress, but boy has he been making it. Anti though, incredibly, is up there and right up there as well, and we could see he's not spending any tokens, which does beg the question of how. But he seems to be doing very well for himself, so all credit to him. Kado, then Suicide, Kubo and Shiloh are your top 7 at the moment. Shiloh in 7th place at the moment. Then it's Eurist and Bluebell fighting over 8th and 9th. They're both on the soft compound of tyre. Pit crew still leads. It's Grandy. Then Anti. Kado ahead of his countryman Suicide. Those two are going to be having a bit of a scrap. This isn't quite a home race for them. That will be coming up. Or will it? Did Le Castellet get taken off the calendar? I have a feeling it did. Pit crew stays out, Grandy stays out, the rest come in. They had just gotten past the pit entry as the rain was announced, but Abva, interestingly, also stays out, as does Eurus and Vaporeon, all gambling to try and see themselves higher up the field. The Thunder X's will get another good bit of usage out of these tyres. In fact, I think this might play into their hands perfectly, because they're not going to be into the pit lane until it starts raining. I think everyone else has gone a lap early here, and they're both able to take the wets while most of the field took the intermediate tyres. Abva is now in, Vaporeon is now in, lots of chaos, Rito and Eurus now in, as well Kubo and Suicide will all go through. This is all on the intermediate tyre, these drivers behind, so they're not going to be doing as well. Suicide with a great move up the hill against Kubo through there. Oh, Abva takes Bluebell wide into the wall. That's not great to see. But they're all skating around a little bit now. They're going to be skating yet more as they go through the rest of this lap. The Thunder X's, because of that overcut and the conditions now worsening, means that they have an advantage over every driver from 3rd through to 6th. Grandy's spending tokens here. Pit Crew is not, so this is Grandy's race to run, and as a result, team have decided to make Pit Crew let his teammate through in the spirit and the interest of the best team finish, prioritising their drivers. But look at those drivers on the inters skating around. We'll get a read on their lap times once this lap finishes, because we have pretty heavier rain conditions, even if it's not getting any heavier at the moment. Abva looking decent on the wet as well. It was a 30.30, 30.30, 31.30. And look at that, 32 seconds. Cato had a great lap on the inters though. Anti just slower. But Grandy was the fastest of anyone that last lap. He was a second faster than his teammate Pit Crew, who is rapidly dropping. Maybe it is the wet weather conditions that exposes the weakness of a tokenless driver, which is pretty nuts. Abva also 31. It looks like it's actually just around a crossover point of sorts, which is very interesting to see. It's not what you'd expect, really, but the track is now drying, and we'll see who's faster on this lap out of the wet and the inter runners. It's still a Thunder X1-2 if you're just joining us. It's been a crazy start to the race. Kado has made up 8 positions, Suicide has lost 2, Anti made up a couple as well. Kubo from pole position all the way down into 6th, Abva 7th, Shiloh, then Bluebell, who's made his way fantastically well up from the 9th row of the grid to the 9th position in the field. Will we see our leading cars come in? Not this lap. They're going to give it another once round. 30.4 for Grandy on that lap, 30.7 for Pit Crew, 30.17 for Kado, faster than both of them. Suicide with a slow lap, Anti slower, but Kado is flying, and he has been doing really well on this inter tyre. And so he has actually closed the gap from Pit Crew, which was a considerable amount of time before, to just a couple seconds now. The tyres are going to get very skittish. I wonder if we'll see any inter runners stay out. We might not. I am now gambling on not. The front two are in and they're out. Get a nice ghosted pit lane. All drivers should feel safe coming in here. And slowly but surely, all of the inter runners will trickle off those tyres. Vaporeon came in a lap early, as did Gusto and Eurus actually, currently fighting it out for P13. Eurus in the velocity car up the inside of the FVR, but Todsod will come out right in the midst of both of them, block off his teammate a little bit. Kado v Suicide, it's the battle of the Frenchmen down in the Principality south of the mainland. 3rd and 4th for them at the moment. Kado took a podium, could have been a win in Adelaide. He was very, very close, but he's going to be looking for a good result here if he can manage one. Suicide looking for his first ever UV podium after a season's break, while he had to go back down to Challenger Virtual and fight it out there with the likes of the very experienced drivers that have that division as their domain. But he's back here now in lovely UV. I got to drink water. Kubo, looking at the inside of Anti, gets a good exit through Sandoval, puts in his personal best lap time on a hard compound tyre, which is quite impressive. Moves himself up into 5th place ahead of the SFR car, which is tokenless, may I remind you, and the worst car on the grid. So heavens knows how's it's in P6 at the moment. And still looking at Kubo through to back, through the swim pool chicane. Kubo defends the inside. He'll do the same to Raskas, and Anti forced a long way around. He's not going to be able to make a move there, but he might just be able to edge up the inside. Not quite. Keep an eye on that. Kado and Suicide still fighting here as they go through their hairpin. We're a quarter distance through this unusual half-hour race that you get in Ultimate Virtual. It's the season finale in the Monaco Grand Prix, as the two most special events of the season are both prolonged by about 5 minutes over what you'd normally expect from a race distance. So, tyre chat as we see Caddo getting chased down by Suicide once again. Everyone pitted pretty much on the same lap off whatever wet tyre they chose. Grandy on the soft has massively gapped pit crew, and it is really surprising that Grandy is only spending 2 tokens, and he only really needs to spend 2 tokens because the gap that he's building up to everyone behind is enormous when you can see that his tokenless teammate is currently his closest competitor. Caddo, a man with tokens, and hopefully with the balls of someone up the inside at the hotel section, he does get through there. Pit crew will fight this around the outside of the Lowe's hairpin. Can't get it done there. Caddo in second place. He can begin his hunt on Grandy. Grandy will be into the pit lane sooner rather than later. Suicide on the soft has made good progress as well, but he has struggled to get past his countryman. As I say, that absolutely sends it. Loses the back end through Raskas. That's not going to help out either of them. Little clip of the wall at Anthony Nogues. Pit crew looking at a move back on Caddo. Around the outside he goes. Through Casino Square. Doesn't quite pull off the move, but he's getting close. Kubo, all the while, in the background. We'll take a look at the tokens once again. It is 1 token for Abba, 3 for Kubo, who is a twice winner here in Monaco. The only other drivers to win, as we see Grandy and Suicide both come into the pit lane. Grandy putting the mediums on, Suicide putting the softs on. Grandy actually, fantastically, has built up such a gap over the field that he was able to emerge from the pit lane ahead. Well, I mean, still in the lead. I think he had 7 seconds over his teammate, who was actually backing up Caddo just a little bit. The tokenless pit crew playing the team game there, slowing down the charging Frenchman to the point where Grandy could build up that nice cushion and are out of the pit lane on fresh mediums versus Caddo's pretty worn hards, is already starting to just create this gap once again because he's got the clean air. You know, a couple back markers here and there, but nothing too much to worry about. But fundamentally, he had the gap that he made himself, and he's kept track position. Pit crew up into second place, back past Caddo, which is hilarious. He is now into the pit lane. He's put on the hard compound tyre. That ThunderX car is incredibly fast, and I wouldn't let anyone tell me otherwise. 5th place he'll come out in. Kubo, a good bit ahead in 4th, about 2 seconds up the road. He's going to be in off those hards relatively soonish. He's looking at Suicide at the moment, who has come out on those fresh, soft compound tyres. Then further down, Anti, bit of no man's land at the moment, just triple checking. Yeah, he is spending no tokens, so he is just doing a very, very nice race. Unlike his teammate down in 19th, but track position can be so important in these races. He's actually lapping his teammate, who is equally spending no tokens to him. That is pretty indicative of the performance of those 2 drivers over the course of the last couple seasons. That is poor. Anti is being chased by Abva. 2 of them fought for a win in Adelaide, and Anti prevailed. Shiloh currently running tokenless in 8th. She's doing a really good job there. Todsod sliding wide on the exit of the hairpin, but he's maintaining a very healthy 9th place. If we look at the driver standings so far this season, as we'll go back to the front pack right after this, but Todsod did pick up a P4 and fastest lap, just got beaten to his first ever podium by Eurus, and now he's in to the pit lane, fresh hard compound tyres for the Canadian driver at the all Canadian owned and driven team. Nice to see that. Eurus will come out ahead, but he is oh no, he's not a lap down. He's fighting in 4th position. Caddo, our P3 runner, is coming up to lap them, and it looks like there's going to be even more hectic behaviour up top, because look at the pack that Grandy is in. Suicide has had very good pace on that soft, just having come out of the pit lane. Obviously a softer tyre than Grandy's medium, but the gap that he's been able to close up is pretty spectacular as he goes up the inside. This is a move for the lead, and this is the lead for the Pappy Pops team. That's fantastic to see. Grandy going through Mirabeau gets the move back. Suicide back through as well. Pappy Pops, a reminder, have never won a race in Ultimate Virtual. They have been on the podium. Have they? I'll check that. Grandy back through though. That's pretty incredible racing. Clouds are coming here in Monaco. So nobody can get too complacent in the strategy that they are currently on. Pit crew all the while chasing down, well, he was chasing down Kubo for 4th position. Kubo's now in, he's on the fresh hard compound tyres. Caddo will go past Suicide, looking to have another go at Grandy. Can he get a good exit out from whatever that corner's called? I should know that. He's chasing him down slowly but surely. Let's see if he can actually get him. It's quite close. Suicide now into the pit lane. Which tyre will he put on? The last pit box for the newly promoted Pappy Pops team is the soft compound of tyre. Interesting. Interesting indeed. And he gets completely screwed over by the rain. We've got heavy rain coming just as Suicide came into the pit lane. This has echoes of that Season 2 race eons ago. Kubo versus Spuda versus Jiruni, with the race win decided by a crucial late rain call. And that strategy for Suicide, the softer tyre, meaning he had to pit earlier. He has to come in for the second time in 2 laps. That is absolutely heartbreaking for the Frenchman, who was looking so strong to have a proper route in the race lead. It's not quite to be. That is thoroughly, thoroughly disappointing. To answer a previous question, Pappy Pops have never finished on the podium in Ultimate Virtual. The closest they got was a 4th place finish at the European Grand Prix in Season 4 at the Misano Adriatico circuit. 5th stop for Suicide. The rest of the grid has all taken 4. That is rough, to say the least. But Suicide has to chase back down Grandy. We'll take a look at the rest of the field since we focus on these two for a while. It's Caddo followed by Pit Crew. Kubo is still in 5th, still struggling a little bit in the Neon Sunset Virtual car that he doesn't have full control of beneath him. Last season he was in that car, spending 3 tokens at Monaco, finished P5, so he'll be hoping for a better result this season. Maybe it was less than P5. I think, no. I can't remember if it was, I think it was P5. It's not a great result, that, particularly behind a tokenless car. It just shows how fast that Thunder X is. It's not quite on the levels of the Season 3 BAV, but it is getting there at the moment with its full index point over the whole field. Abva runs in 6th place, reminder that he is spending just the 1 token today. The other token spenders, Kubo with 3, Grandy with 2, Vaporeon with 2, we have completely forgotten about. Caddo with 2 is doing well for that. Suicide with 4, who really needs a very good result. Vaporeon, meanwhile, is behind Anti by a long way. That Porsche car is just not fast enough in a straight line. It's been really hurt. He's behind the tokenless SFR car. That, I guess, shows you all you need to know, really, about the weightings of the car index. Because that clearly shows a 2 token spender versus a 0 token spender. But then again, Anti's teammate Vladinator is plumb last. So really, it can just be luck of the draw. The front 2 cars are into the pit lane. It's Suicide and then Grandy. Grandy had the earlier box. Suicide, despite having to take that extra stop, to be fair, I think that with that undercut, he made about a second, if not 2, on Grandy on that lap anyway. So what was a 6 or 7 second gap was only really about 4.5 by the time that he got out of the pit lane. But he's had a really good stint there, and he's closed that gap by another 3 or so seconds. Grandy is within reach here. Suicide, interestingly, will have known what tyre Grandy went on as he rolled into his box. The advantage of the later pit box is the 2 orange cars here. Suicide on the hard, but he won't care a penny for that because Suicide is through into the race lead as we've passed the halfway mark here. This could be a crucial victory for Pappy Pops, not even just to win the race, but a major points haul. However, can they afford to dream big? Take not only their first podium, but what will be their first ever win as well. Grandy will not make it easy. He's going to look to get a good exit up the main straight. Can he try and pull ahead going into turn 1 before they even hit the brakes? Grandy back into the lead here. They're in a class of their own. Pit Crew looking for a tokenless podium, which would be absolutely incredible. I mean, we've not seen that in a non-finale race since Season 3. It has to be the likes of Jamosh and Paul Ricard, where we saw BAVs on the podium completely tokenless. It's been a while. Caddo in 4th place, looking to make sure that won't happen. This would be a good result for the Frenchman, just like Esteban Ocon, the Frenchman in his midfield car, getting a single podium Formula 1 this season at Monaco. Caddo might look to get his second podium of the season here at Monaco. Abva chases down Kubo all the while. Caddo really close to pit crew now. We'll keep you updated on the Grandi and Suicide gap. You can see it update live in the ticker in the top left of your screen, and it is only getting smaller. Can Suicide get a good exit out here? He's got a little bit of turbo to use, but Grandi will maintain that gap. We've got light rain coming back here. The drivers will be making what is for most of them their 6th stop. For Suicide only his 7th stop, and the first driver into the pit lane was Kubo. Onto the wet compound tyre. He takes that in that neon sunset virtual car. Advert behind him does the same. Interesting to see drivers take the full wet weather tyre when only light rain has been announced. These guys have it done pretty nicely because the rain has only just rocked up. There is a theory that most AI take the wet weather tyre because they know that the rain will get heavier rather than lighter after initial light rain. So we'll see if that is true. But Suicide, very interestingly, along with Anti and Shiloh, all took the intermediate tyre, the only 3 drivers to do it. So is Suicide sacrificing long term for short term here? If the rain gets any heavier, it wouldn't be enough to justify a stop, or else he'd waste a lot of time, but he'd struggle quite a lot on that inter. In these conditions, he should be faster, because it is still just light rain at the moment. The clouds are coming back, and this will only play more and more into the hands of the Frenchman. Grandi, at the start of last season, took 2 wins in 3 races. He took his 9th win of his career. He's looking to make it a big number 10 here today. If he can manage that, that would be a phenomenal way to start this season, similar to how he did last, but hopefully, at least hopefully for him, will come with a different ending. Suicide gets barged out the way by Het and Andres. That sounds like an average SL race a few seasons ago. Pickery still runs third. Kubo's gotten past Abver, and Caddo for 4th and 5th. Caddo has dropped back, which is interesting to see. Anti and Shiloh nowhere near really anyone, to be honest, running the lap of their own on lap 38. Are on the intermediate tyre. Suicide really close now. Anti between him and Grandi. The Finn might provide his countrymen a bit of support. Not too much, clearly. This is it now. Light rain conditions. Suicide gets the better exit out of Sandoval. Grandi tries to fight it around the outside. Keeps her nose in as they go to Mirabeau. Suicide won't quite ever look up the inside into the hairpin. He's going to have to think more tactically. Try and get him through the tunnel. Uses a bit of boost. Will close up going to the Nouvelle Chicane. Can't get it done there. Through to back. They will be nip and tuck. Suicide a different line through the Swinburne Chicane. Up the inside at Restgas. Suicide takes the lead of the Monaco Grand Prix. On lap 40 of 60, we have a third of the race exactly left to run, and once again the Frenchman finds his way into the lead. The Inter was the right tyre to be on, and I have no doubt he'll come into the pit lane in the lead of the race unless this last lap goes quite poorly for him. Pit crew was our first driver in to see his pit crew. In fact, the name Bottas pit crew, I believe, was taken from Monaco 2021. Here they go into the pit lane now. That gap has grown to over a second between Suicide and Grandi. Pit crew not close enough to really worry them with an undercut, but Suicide's resilience using his 4 tokens. Well, I mean, he's used his 4 tokens in a really good time, in that we have 1 3 token spender and then a handful of 2 token spenders, but actually nothing really that can challenge a 4 token spender, even in a car that's not particularly fast, a car that until this week did not have a single speed level to its name, which is incredible to think about. And this has just given them, this sort of perfect storm has given them that culmination of a potentially race-winning car. But Grandi, just as he cruelly snatched the win away from Shiloh last time out in Saudi Arabia, may do the exact same to our Frenchman here and take the first 3 wins. Hang on, no, he didn't win in Adelaide, did he? Sorry. May take back-to-back wins this season for his 10th win of his Ultimate Virtual career. Yet to be seen. Kubo chases down pit crew. Caddo, with Abver a little bit behind. Anti and Shiloh. Todd Sod is really close, in fact, to the American driver. Gets around the outside of her through the swim pool section. Corvid a few seconds behind as well in the other Furia Roja car. Vaporeon and Goose fighting it out. So we've actually, unusually, because we don't really often have this, we've got quite a close fight for the lower points positions. None of these drivers spending tokens, weirdly apart from Vaporeon spending 2, and I promise you he is spending 2, I did check it. Goose in 12th position. It's Rito, the Bluebell, Eurus, then Andrews, Monaco, then Fox, Pappy, and Vladinator in P last, getting lapped for the 3rd time by Suicide. As Grandy still in the hunt right behind the Frenchman. They both took the soft tyres, coming off their inter and wet respectively. Kubo is getting pretty close to pit crew now. You can see him, the orange flash of light at the end of the tunnel, as it were. Suicide just needs to keep this lead. Monaco can be a difficult place to overtake. Walls are everywhere. I don't think you need me to tell you that. And nor do the drivers. But this is a really good spot if you can get the right line through to back in the swimming pool chicane. Grandy does. He goes to the outside. Suicide doesn't have the grip on the exit of the swimming pool. Grandy is back into the lead. A quarter of the race left to go here. Just 14 more laps. Caddo is our fastest lap holder. He was in the fight with Suicide over P3 earlier on. He has now dropped back. It is very close though between Pit Crew and Kubo. As I say that, side by side through Rascas they go. Pit Crew just has to fold in, go through the final corner. But he does get back around the outside of Sandoval and give Kubo a nice rude nudge over to the inside. Suicide 2 seconds back from Grandy. Now, Grandy has been putting in some really nice lap times, 29.8 versus a 31.3, 1.5 seconds quicker than Suicide on that last lap. That may be largely, and we'll pull up the team overview. If you look at the Thunder X, 6 acceleration, 6 grip. 6 acceleration on the Papa Pops as well with 4 grip, but it's the 1 speed versus 4 that's really killing them in comparison to the Thunder X car. And when Grandy has that need to go fast, he absolutely can do that. Suicide will extend a lap longer. If the laws of karma balance out, that means that Suicide will now massively benefit off Ray being called instantly. Sorry, translation. Suicide will now massively benefit off rain being called instantly if it is called out now. Grandy, though, is really not that far behind. It's such a slow tyre to be on an old soft. He is struggling. He is into the pit lane, and there goes Grandy, lapping Suicide's teammate. Pulls alongside. And he's going to have quite a big gap when push comes to shove. Right, interesting. So Grandy pitted on lap 48, he took the medium. That can go to the end. There is definitely a chance that he will take that to the end. Suicide pitted on lap 49 for the soft. That has less of a chance of going to the end. What he might do is 7 laps now and then 4 to absolutely gun it at the end, right when Grandy's tyres are falling off, or he'll split it more evenly with a 6 and a 5. It should be interesting this. I think he is now just prioritising getting as much pace as he possibly can here and now in order to close up to Grandy, and if rain is called or anything of that sort of thing happens, that will mean that the strategy is wiped clean and Suicide has good track position relative to the Finn ahead. Kubo is now looking pretty good for a P3. Pit Crew did just come in for the mediums. Caddo also a few laps going for the mediums. So Kubo does need to come in pretty soon. Suicide is not quite catching the rate of knots that he would have liked to be, but he does have a good bit of time left in this race. He's still got 8.5 laps to go. Caddo will try and close out on Pit Crew, who, by the way, is having a phenomenal race. P4 and tokenless. I have very little doubt that he would be driver of the day if Suicide doesn't win this. Even if he doesn't, it would be a tight call. But a P4 tokenless, indicative of the car maybe, but it's just an amazing, amazing feat. I think you should be very proud of that. Anti is into the pit lane. Onto fresh, soft rubber. He's not going to get passed by anyone. Shiloh is quite considerably behind. She's battling her teammate Corvid, who is now through. Corvid on a fresher soft. To Shiloh's older hard. The fight for 3P. Forgive me, it's been a long day. Fight for P3 goes on here. Pit Crew is being held up by Eurus, Kubo's former teammate. A little bit of games going on back there. Pit Crew might be on to take our first tokenless podium in a non-finale race for nearly 3 seasons. Suicide all the while is really closing in on Grandy. He can see him at the end of the tunnel, the two orange dominated cars. And there's been nothing dominant about this race apart from the performance, really, of Suicide and Grandy over the rest of the field. That has been incredible. Suicide is in. After just 5 laps on that soft, he'll take one final stint to the end. He's given up on waiting for rain. He is going for a strategic undercut, and he's going to hope that Grandy will try and stay out to the end. If Grandy had the brains here, he would pit immediately onto the soft to cover off Suicide, even though the medium can and should go longer than this. But the counter to that is, of course, the fact that you're basically giving in to the undercut. And Suicide, you could see immediately in that first lap of the pit lane, has closed the gap by about a second. It is now another second. It's going to get really, really touchy between these two at the end. If Grandy pits now, he would come up behind, but you'd actually back him with a 2-lap fresher soft. It can make a lot of a difference. No, he is going to go to the end. Crosses the line to start lap 57. 4 left to run here. Suicide has 6 seconds to make up. He could be, I think, the 3rd consecutive race winner to have 10 or so pit stops, because we have had some crazy spurts of rain in these opening races of the season. But it's going to get very, very, very tight now. It's going to be very nervy. But Grandy is putting in some pretty good lap times. He's still pulling a decent gap. Suicide needs to make up time very quickly. This will be where Grandy loses time, though, because Grandy now has been on that tyre for 9 laps. That is the min duration. He is into the window of which you should pit off that tyre. On that last lap, he was 1.2 seconds slower. Kuba, by the way, with an incredible 28.18 for the fastest lap, but he is not in that conversation. It is the Frenchman versus the Finn. It's Grandy versus Suicide, the man looking to take his record-breaking 10th win in Ultra Virtual versus a man who has never seen himself or his team stood on the top step of a UV podium. 2 laps left here. Will he have time to close the gap? Grandy should be really skating around. Suicide on that last lap took another 1.2 seconds out of Grandy. He can see him now. He's 2 corners ahead of him. Surely this will be a first win for the Frenchman. Surely, but it's going to be so close because his tyres starting to slide around a little bit as well. Grandy should be massively struggling though. Through a lot of these corners, he's struggling to keep it pointing in the right direction. It's the final lap of the Monaco Grand Prix. 1.5 seconds separates Grandy and Suicide. An incredibly experienced driver when it comes to winning versus a man who has never been on the podium. Suicide just needs a good exit from the tunnel. He took his best ever result here in Monaco 2 seasons ago. His team got relegated. Can he promote himself into the lead? He's just got a couple corners left, but as he goes up the inside at Raskas and makes it stick on the very last lap, Suicide wins the Monaco Grand Prix. He'll finish ahead of Grandy by just 0.6 of a second. What a fantastic victory that is. After over half an hour of racing, and it all came just accumulation for the Frenchman and his team. Kubo will take a podium here in Monaco, which he will absolutely take. Not a victory for him. He is part of that exclusive club of Monaco Grand Prix winners that Suicide now joins as well. Grandy part of that too, but he couldn't make it to today. It was Sue on the top step. 16 points for Kubo as he takes P3 and the fastest lap. Pit crew will take 4th position for Thunder X. Tokenless as well. Caddo takes 5th place, 2 tokens for him. Pretty good return for the Velocity team. They won't be unhappy with that. Abva did well to finish 6th in the end. Anti takes tokenless points for SFR Maserati Corsa. It was double tokenless points for Furia Roja. Shiloh 8th, Corvid in 9th. Todd Sod takes some points as well for Flying V Racing in the 2nd fastest car on the grid. Just outside the points by only about a second was Vaporeon, but that is 2 tokens for no points scored. P11 for him. It was Goose ahead of Rito, then Bluebell and Urist, Hetmenica, Fox, Andres, Pappy, and Vladinator in last place. What a thoroughly entertaining Monaco Grand Prix. It had all the elements of what you'd normally expect from this kind of race, and it really did deliver come the checkered flag. We'll see you next week for the Austrian Grand Prix, I believe the first in Ultimate Virtual, at the Innsbruck a brand new track chosen by our reigning world champion. But from the Monaco Grand Prix, the jewel in the crown of the Ultimate Virtual calendar. For now, from me, bye bye.